What up, YouTube? Your boy Tembrews here, aka Ethan. Hope your Wednesday is going well. Tuesday, excuse me. Don't even know what day it is. Hope your Tuesday is going well. I just got a killer pull workout in. Yeah, I sound like a huge Chad there, but I have no shame. So today I'm back with another tutorial. I'm gonna show you how to make a future house track like Brooks. Uh, so if you're new to my channel, I put out a lot of music. I put out an EDM remix every week and usually some rap beats. Working on some original house music as well, so look out for that. Uh, if you're feeling generous, hit the subscribe button, like the video if you like it. Comment, let me know if you like the video or not. Any tips, requests, what you want to see me make, what you want to hear from me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Any engagement helps at all. Try to grow my channel. With my little plug out of the way here, let's get into the video. So I have a project pulled up here. This is an original Future House track that I made a few months ago. It's unreleased. I'm not sure if I'm going to release it, to be honest. I think it's decent, but anyways, it's a future house track, future bounce, whatever you want to call it. Who can keep up with the genres these days? Um, but anyway, I'm gonna show you how to make a future house track like Brooks. Obviously, it's not gonna be as good as a Brooks track, but I think I have the main premise down, and hopefully you get something out of this video. Uh, Here's the project file. The tempo is 128 BPM, a really common tempo in dance music, as some of you probably know. And let's get into it here. I'm gonna start with the break. So I'm just gonna play the break for you first. All right, so that's basically the break. I'm going to start with the first half of the break. So I made this months ago. I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I started out with the vocal. So I found this vocal on Splice. They have a ton of good vocals you can find, especially for EDM that you can use. So I'm just going to solo the vocal here. Show you what I did to the vocal processing wise. So I pitched it one semitone down, and the key is, let's see, the key of the vocal is E minor. I pitched it down one, so the key of the song is D sharp minor. And then I have an EQ here, just cutting out the lows. I have a Valhalla Room reverb on it, a big reverb. I like using this. I have a preset I use for EDM vocals. So it just, I don't know, for certain tracks it makes it sound mysterious and makes the vocal sound really big and wide, which I like a lot. So this is without, and this is with the reverb. Just makes it sound bigger, wider, and more distant, which I like a lot. And then I have a stereo imager making the vocal wide. And something I learned recently, the order of your plugins can definitely change how they sound. So like since I have it after the reverb, it's widening the reverb as well. As if I were to switch these and widen it before the reverb is added, it's not going to sound as big. So let me just show you. This is with the widening effect after the reverb. And this is if I were to switch it and put the reverb on last. Just a subtle difference there. But yeah, if you put it on after, it can widen the reverb, which makes it bigger. And then whenever I start a track, I almost always will start with a chord progression or a bass line. In this case, I may have started with this vocal, but can't remember to be exact. But here is the chord progression that I made on the piano. Let me show you these. And these chords are Nexus. It's the Ballad Grand Piano and Nexus. I said this previously, I love Nexus's pianos. It's my go-to for pianos. Let me know if you know of a better synth for pianos or a better plugin, because I would like to check out some other pianos, but these are just the best from any synth that I have. And then processing on the piano, EQ, cutting out the lows, Camel Crusher. Yeah, ever since I got my new computer, for some reason, when I pull up Camel Crusher, it just shows a black screen. Wish I could show you guys the actual plugin. But Camel Crusher, it's a distortion with a built-in compressor. It just makes any sound bigger and fatter. So I'll turn it off just to show you. Let me solo it. Yeah. It's without. That's with. Without. As you can see, it makes it just way bigger and powerful. Then I have another EQ coming in to cut out the lows again that were added by the Camel Crusher. And then I have Nicky Romero Kickstart. So this is a sidechain plugin. A lot of you probably know sidechaining is huge in dance music. It's not on right now, so I automated the sidechain because later I have a kick coming in. And what this does, when it's on, it will duck the piano every time the kick hits, so the kick stands out more and you can hear the kick, and just gives you the rhythm of a dance track. Because in dance music, like, a lot of people say the kick is most important part of the song, which, sometimes is definitely true, and it's definitely a huge component, because it's just a characteristic of dance music. But anyway, that's a tangent. Okay, so there's the piano and the vocal, and then I just have a bass line here. Here's the bass line. Just playing the root notes of the chords. That's the easiest way to do it. So if I start with the chord progression, I'll use the root notes for the bass line, or sometimes I'll start with the bass line and then I'll make the chords from the bass line. So that's just easy way to go about it, in my opinion. And then processing on the bass, I have EQ. This is just the Logic EQ. It gets the job done. I now have FabFilter Pro Q3, which I like a lot, but it's not necessary. You don't need it. The built-in Logic one will work fine for what I'm doing here. It's nothing complex. I'm just cutting out up to 100 hertz, so I'm cutting out the sub of the bass. Camel Crusher, making it bigger, cutting out the really low frequencies again. I have a stereo imager set to 0 here, so I'm making the bass mono. So the other sounds are wide, the bass is mono. Just fill up the complete spectrum. Same thing with the kickstart here. It's off now. I automated it, so it will turn on when the kick comes in. So those are the main elements of the break. And then I'm just going to unsolo. I have some other effects in here. So I have this impact sweep thing that comes in right when it starts, after the intro. then this is just a little vocal one-shot effect that I added in the background. I believe I got this from Splice as well. Splice is awesome. Shout out Splice. You can find anything you want there, and you can search by key. So, you know, once I have the key of my song, D sharp minor, I can just go into Splice and search vocal effects, D sharp minor. Like I can search by key, and it's just easier that way. But I shifted this one down. Let me make sure I have the right track. Yeah. So it's just that little one shot. I shifted it down 8 semitones. FabFilter Pro Q, cutting out the lows. Put the same reverb that I have in the vocal on this, because it is like a vocal sample, and making it wide as well. Then I have this other vocal sweep effect coming in here. If you can see, this is from the Cashmere pack. Cashmere has a lot of good packs for EDM, widely used, and rightfully so. They're really good in my opinion. And I believe that's the same processing, so that's just a minor effect there I got in the background. And this is something that early on I didn't really do, and I didn't realize that all these little small effects and details in the background, they really add up to the whole of your track and make it just sound more professional, and they fill up the whole spectrum, make it more interesting. So that's something, you know, like a year or two ago, I really started to learn and implement in my tracks. So let's see if there's anything else here. Okay, yeah, there's another sweep here, Cashmere. That's just right when the track starts out of the intro. And then I have this drone sample playing in our key, D sharp minor. So I'll let you hear that. Processing, I have EQ, cutting out everything except the high. The highs, that's all you really need with that type of sound. I have a Valhalla Room reverb on it. Just mess with some settings. Not a ton of reverb on it. And I'm making it wide as well. And this is just one of those things in the background, like if I unsolo it, you probably wouldn't even notice it. But if you listen closely, you can hear like a hint of it. And if I were to mute it you can barely hear it, but you know, like I said, it's just all these things in the background, they really add up to a full mix. So let's move on here. This is the second half of the break, so everything's the same. I just have some drums coming in. So I have a kick coming in. It's from a Vengeance pack. Vengeance, they also have really good EDM sample packs. And I have an auto filter on the kick with the cutoff set to 40. So you're not hearing the full kick. There's a filter on it. And then because I have the full kick without any filter playing in the drop. So this is kind of just, it starts setting the rhythm, but it's not fully hitting you. So if I turn this off, see, you can hear the kick more. But now it's just more in the background with that filter. And then I have a stereo imager making the kick mono. Just from my experience, what I've learned, what I've seen other producers do. Usually you'll want your bass and your kick mono. But you don't have to. That's just kind of the standard, I guess. So I'm just going to solo all the drums here. So I have the kick, I have a clap here. EQ, cutting out the lows of the clap, reverb, stereo imager, widening the clap. And this is, I'm sorry, this is not a clap, it's a snap actually, also from a Cashmere pack. And then I have a tambourine loop here, top loop from Spin-In pack, and another Spin-In top loop. This one has hi-hats in it. So that's just some percussion here to get the rhythm started. And looks like I have no processing on those loops. I'm not sure if I just forgot or if that was on purpose, but you know, I think they sound fine. It's a good pack, Spin-In. So I'll let you hear the second half of the break here. Alright, so moving on here, I'm going to show you guys the build up. So I'm just going to play it here. So it's nothing too crazy at all. I still have the piano chords and the bass line playing. And then I have the drop melody and the drop leads start to come in here. But if I go to my automation, I'm automating a filter on all of them so you can't fully hear them. They slowly rise up as it builds, as is character in a lot of progressive dance tracks. And then I'll show you these layers in the actual drop, but there's 4 layers here. And then I have a snare. I have snares here. It's from a Riggy and Pyros pack that I found on Splice. Thought they sounded cool. Let me see the processing. I have no processing on this. And then I have a riser. This is a riser from Vengeance as well. No processing on that. Then I have a second uplifter. This one is more of just white noise. This one actually it has like, what's the word? More like melodic components to it. I don't know if that's the right word, but this second riser is just white noise, so, as you can hear. And it's from the Spin-In pack. I have no processing on any of this. You know, sometimes if it sounds good, you don't need processing. But yeah, I can't remember if that was on purpose or not. And then I have an impact that hits right when the build-up starts. That is also from the Vengeance pack. As you can see, I use a lot of the same sample packs. You know, I try to, since I got on Splice, I try to use different samples, but I would say a key is having like some go-to sample packs or samples that you use, because for workflow it just makes you work way quicker, makes things easier, because if you know where to go to, what samples to go to, you can just throw them in and get the main part of the track down quicker. And then if you want to change some of them, you can just go back later and do so. But yeah, that's a key, I would say, is just having some go-to sample packs. As you can see, for me, it'd be like Vengeance, Spin-In, and Cashmere. Those are probably the main packs I use for house tracks. And then I still have that drone playing in the background. And that, guys, is the entire build up. So I'll play it once more here. And one other thing I just want to point out. So I have the melody playing for bars. That's a complete melody. And then what I like to do in build-ups is I will then start looping it. So just to solo one of these. So I have the whole melody play once. And then I have half a bar repeating for these 2 bars. Then for the last bar of the build-up, I have 1/4 of a bar. So just the first note repeating. And that I used to, a lot of the time, I would just play the full melody all the way through the build-up. But this I find like changes it up more. So then the full melody will hit you in the drop again. So that's like a minor thing, but it does matter in my opinion. And then the final bar before the drop, I think I have some fills here. So I have an impact from Vengeance, and then just a Cashmere drum fill right before the drop. Let me just play the first bar of the drop so I can show you the transition. Alright, so now we're going to get into the drop here. Everyone's favorite part. Not necessarily, but you know, just as a stereotype. Okay, so in our drop here, we have, I used a lot of layers here. I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 7 layers here in the drop. Some of these are bass though, some are the leads. So I have 4 layers for the lead. I'm just going to show you all of them here. First, I'm going to show you the melody. So here is the drop melody. And let me just solo this first one. So a lot of times I'll just pull up my keyboard here, play around to like come up with a melody or the starting of one, and then I'll draw the rest in. Or sometimes I'll just draw it in completely. It's one of those things where melodies, in my opinion, you just get better at over time with trial and error. When I first started, I started producing like 6 years ago. My melodies were not good, and they took forever for me to make, and just years of doing it, trial and error, by ear, you'll automatically get better. Trust me on that. It's a work in progress. I'm still trying to get better, but they're usually not like crazy complex, but definitely got better over the years, and got quicker at it as well. So that's our melody, and let me show you what this first lead is. So this is a preset from Serum. It's just from the Leads Epic Lead. And I can't really remember if I messed with this at all. The last couple months I've really gotten better at tweaking presets to kind of get them to sound how I want. I used to just play the presets and not tweak them at all. And I would hear producers like talk about tweaking them, but I'm not a sound designer, so half of this I don't know what it means. So I never really tweaked them much, but the last couple months I've been getting better at that. Mainly just, so every synth I notice usually has like these knobs, like your attack, decay, sustain, and release. This one has hold. Release is how long the sound goes on after the note stops playing, if that makes sense. So if I turn it all the way to 0, you won't hear it at all after the note ends. But if the release is on, you'll hear a little delay almost. Sustain. I don't want to try to define these because I'll probably give you a messed up definition, but sustain. I honestly just go by ear. Like, I know generally what release does, and like attack. If the longer attack you have is the longer it will take for the sound to fully come in. So if I just turn this up and turn it all the way down. So it's with 0 attack, it's way more punchy. It comes in right away. I think it was at 0.5. I'm just going to put it back there. And then I play around with decay and sustain and hold just until it, I get it to sound how I want. So this is the first lead. Show you the processing. Fab filter EQ, cutting out the lows. Camel Crusher. Put that on all my leads. I've seen a lot of pro producers use Camel Crusher. That's kind of how I learned about it. Just, tutorials. I'm sure you guys know the hustle, watching tutorials on YouTube when you're starting up. So I have another EQ here, cutting out the lows after the Camel Crusher. Valhalla Room Reverb. I have some type of preset I made on here, but just play around with these till you think it sounds good. Stereo Imager, widening the sound. And then of course I have Nicky Romero's Kickstart, which is sidechain. It's turned on now, so the lead is ducking every time the kick hits. I love this plugin. It's just such an easy sidechain plugin. I remember before I had this, I looked up on YouTube how to sidechain things, and it was like 1,000 times more complicated. I mean, for some people it's probably easy, but I would have an actual compressor that was ducking every time the kick hit. But this is just a way easier way to do it, and there's a bunch of different presets in here. I usually use this free punch one a lot. It's set to 90%. I don't know, I didn't want it all the way at 100. So that's ducking every time the kick hits. Let me show you the second layer here. Another Serum. And this is actually the same preset. I believe it's playing an octave lower though. This is between C2, C3, and this is C3. Yeah, so this is the same exact preset, except it's playing an octave lower. So layering, guys, is not something I'm great at, I would say. It's always been hard for me just to pick the right sounds to layer, and with it sounding clean, I guess is the word. But this is something I'll do a lot. You can layer with the same sound, but just use different octaves. Because, if it was playing the same octave, there'd be no point of putting a second one in. It basically just making the same sound louder. But since I put it an octave lower, since I put the notes an octave lower, it's playing different parts of the frequency, if that makes sense. So then the third layer here is this. And that's more of like a super saw layer. It's another Serum preset. It's called I Got a Feeling 2, and this is from a sample pack I bought. It's Future Bounce for Serum 2. Shocking Future Bounce for Serum 2. Can't leave that out. Yeah, I believe it's from a Vengeance sample pack. I think Vengeance is the company. I have a couple packs from them. I think they have a lot of good sounds. And I have basically the same processing on all of these. And then here's the last layer of the lead. And this is another Serum preset from the same Shocking Future Bounce pack. It's called Maze. So all together, that's the leads. So that's all the leads, guys. And now I'm going to get into the bass, which I think really makes this track, in my opinion. So here's the bass. I have 3 layers. So here's the first one I started with. So this is a Serum preset. It's from the same Future Bounce Pack. It's called Crazy Life. So a lot of these presets, they use the built-in Serum effects. So there's EQ, compressor, distortion, hyper. I turn the reverb off, and there's a filter. And let me show you the processing. So I have an EQ cutting out the sub, which would be up to 100 hertz. Camel Crusher, making it bigger, more gritty. Another EQ. Stereo Imager, making it mono. And then, of course, Kickstart, side chaining the bass, so it ducks when the kick hits. And that's just a really bouncy bass preset, so it's kind of like gives it a future bounce feel. And then this may be my favorite sound of the track. This is the second layer of bass added. Let me just solo it. As you can hear, this one's way grittier and just harder. Together, they sound good, I think. Because you have the bouncy layer, but you also have like the gritty, harder layer, more powerful. And what I did for that layer is something I actually learned from Brooks watching his tutorials. He has a few tutorials or master classes on YouTube. Highly recommend you go check those out if you're interested in his music. He really, goes into all his projects in depth. And so what I did here, I took a bass one-shot sample from, I believe, a Vengeance pack. Let me see if I can show you here. Go to my sample packs. So I'm in Vengeance here, and I believe it's under synth. Yeah, and I went to Future House Bass. As you can see, there's all these samples here. So what I did, I dragged it into Logic, and then I right-clicked it, press Convert to Sampler Track. What it does, it puts the sample in a sampler, so then you can play different notes with it, and you can draw in, a melody or a bass line with it. So I just put the bass melody in that, and now it's playing that one shot every time the bass plays, with the same notes as well. And now that I'm showing you the bassline notes, that leads me to another thing I learned. I'm pretty sure I learned this from Brooks as well. And this has been a game changer for me. So what it is, this as you can see, this bass line here, it's playing just the root notes of the chords still. D sharp, then D, and so on. But I played around and I put some of the notes up an octave. So as you can see, this right here, it's still playing D sharp, but it's playing D sharp up an octave. And what that does, it just it makes the track more interesting. It makes the bass line more interesting when you play around with the octaves. So I do that a lot now for all genres of music. I do that with my 808s and trap beats, more just regular house beats. I'll do that with my bass lines. It's a really good way to make your bass lines interesting, in my opinion. So let me just play it now that you can see it. See, it's like da 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 da. It just definitely adds an element to it, in my opinion. So the last layer is just a sub bass. So I'll solo that for you. Not sure if you can hear it that well, but it's just playing the sub frequencies. So when I cut out 100 up to 100 hertz on the other basses, that's so you could hear the sub, because that would be playing from 0 to 100 hertz. My processing here, I'm cutting out all the highs, see, up to 100 hertz, because you don't need the highs for the sub. Camel Crusher, another EQ. Stereo Imager making it mono. And sidechain. Same, pretty much same processing on all the bass layers. So I'm just going to show you the bass with the kick now. So you can hear the full kick here. I actually put a Camel Crusher with the British Clean preset on the kick. It just makes it more, bigger and fatter like any other sound. I almost always use this British Clean preset. It's another thing I picked up from tutorials over the years. And then I have Stereo Imager making the kick mono. And yeah, that's probably my favorite part of the track, the bass line. Then I have a clap here as well. And I'm going to play the leads for you now all together. Yeah, looking back, I think this probably could have been mixed better. There might be too much going on the high end, but overall it's it has a good basis, I think. And then another big part of this track, and also another thing I learned from Brooks in his tutorials. I mean, I'm sure he's not the only guy that does this, but I find these bass shots or dubstep fills from the Vengeance sample pack. Nowadays, sometimes I'll find them on Splice too. But so on the fourth beat of every second bar, I have one of these dubstep fills playing. So I'll show you that. And I layered it with a snare from the spin-in pack. As you can hear that, I think those fills, adding those fills are just awesome. Like, it makes the track way more aggressive and powerful. Let me solo it for you. Looks like I just have a pitch shifter putting it in key. You want to try as best you can to make sure everything in your song is in the same key, so it sounds cohesive. Nothing on the snare. Let me just solo it for you though. Together. And then on the fourth beat of every fourth bar, I have another dubstep fill playing. Let me show you this one. That's a drum fill. So a drum fill layered with a dubstep fill. I really like these fills that I use for this one. No processing on either of those. And then in between the second half of the drop, I just have a fill here from a spin-in pack. No processing. Then second half of the drop, everything's the same. I just have some top loops coming in, the same two from the break. And then I have 4 hi-hat loops. Hi-hat and percussion. I process all these the same. I have a setting I saved, open hat trap, so I put that on my open hats for trap beats. All it is an EQ cutting out the lows and most of the mids, because, you know, hi-hats, you only really need the highs. I have reverb, and then I have stereo imager making it wide. So I just layered a bunch of loops that I thought sounded good together. So I'm going to play the full drop here for you. Yo, you can hear those hats come in, just add more rhythm, more energy. And then after the drop, I have kind of like an outro transition type thing that goes into the second break. And all it is, it's the same as the drop, except I just took all the leads out. So it's just the bass and the drums playing. And I don't know about you guys, I think it sounds really cool just because the bass, like I said, the bass is my favorite part of this track. So I think it's cool that you just hear the bass with the drums here. And I have a fill right before that just so it transitions. Let me show you that. Then I just have a sweep at the end, transition here from spin in. That will just transition you into the second break. So let me show you that. Then I have the chords and the bass line slowly filtering up. So I just automated that. Sidechain is turned off, but yeah, see, you can see a filter building up the cutoff. So they slowly filter you in. That's a good way to make transitions, I think. So the second break, it's pretty much all the same, except I know instead of in the first break, I know I had the kick filtered. I have the full kick playing here, I believe. Yeah. Everything else is the same, and when the vocal comes back in, I have the snap playing right away. As is in the first break, I just had the vocal. Yeah. So you can hear that snap. And the drums. Just some minor changes to, I didn't want the second break to be exactly the same, but you could definitely argue that I should have changed it up more in the second break, but that's that. And second build up. Yeah, second build up exactly the same, second drop exactly the same. So that is pretty much the track. I will show you the intro and outro real quick. So I don't know about you guys, but I actually love making intros. I just think they're so fun. Even though, like for extended mixes, even though half of people probably skip them and don't care about them, but I just find it fun making intros. Because what you can do, what a lot of producers do, you just take elements from the drop and the break to make an intro. So I'll show you here, first half the intro, what I have. So I have a kick and a clap. And I actually just chopped up parts of the vocal to make a little vocal loop here. Pitch shift. I'm cutting out the lows and the highs though. So when the vocal actually comes in, it hits you harder because you're actually hearing the highs. Here I'm filtering out quite a bit of it. Reverb. looks like I'm using an Echo, just a Logic Echo plugin. I'm just using a preset 1/4 single. That's just giving it some delay, gives it some more movement. As you can see, I put those dubstep fills and drum fills in the intro and outro. I think it sounds really cool in that. And then I have that same drone playing in the background and a Cashmere exhaust just hitting on the first and second half of the intro. So that's that. The drone again. Then I just took the fill in the middle of the drop and put it in the middle of the intro for this bar. And then second half the intro, I almost always have the bass come in. So I have that iconic, not too, it's not iconic, but you know what I mean? Just the bass from the drop playing in the second half of the intro here. And I also have the hi-hats playing and the percussion. So that really just builds up the second half of the drop, really builds the energy into the intro, in my opinion. So let me just play you the full intro here. See, I just think that's sick when the bass comes in. The bass combined with that like vocal loop, it just really builds the energy, in my opinion. And I have some risers in there as well, just rising up to the beginning of the track. And then I have a fill here at the end of the intro. So outro is the exact same, except I just have the bass playing in the first part of the outro, then it's not in the last part of the outro as the track builds down. So I'll just play the outro for you in case you want to hear it. Actually, scratch that. I do not have the bass playing in the outro since I have it after that section of the drop. So I have the second drop here, and then that section with the bass. So I wasn't going to put it in the first part of the outro because I just had it playing here. So, but I do have the hi-hats, the drums, and then it just builds down. So the last part of the outro just has, it's the same as the first part of the intro. It's just slowly building everything down. The hi-hats are gone. You just have the kick, clap, vocals, and a riser building up to the outro, and the fills as well. I'll just play the full outro here. Alright, so you get the idea there, guys. Alright, and that is pretty much it. I showed you all parts of the track here, the breaks, the drops, the intro, and the outro. If there's anything I said or talked about that you want clarification on or don't understand, definitely comment or message me. I'd be more than happy to, show you or try to explain it to you. I'm by no means, a professional, but hopefully you got something out of this video. I had a ton of fun making this one. I might still release it. I don't know yet. I definitely think it's decent. And I think it has a lot of elements that could remind you of a Brooks track. That's why I wanted to title it with that. But let me know if you like this video, if you like this content. Please, comment whether you like it or not. If you have any tips for me, that'd be great. Any requests, like I said earlier, don't be shy. Just feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you have a happy holidays. From Time Brews, peace.